welcome to another episode of Amanda Homestead. My name is Amanda, and today what we're going to be talking about is summer pruning of fruit trees. If you have fruit trees, you probably know that the bulk of the pruning is done in the wintertime, in the dormant season. However, it's actually really a good idea to do some pruning in the summertime. The first reason is kind of if you want to keep your trees smaller. All right, so when you do pruning in the dormant season in the winter, those cuts are kind of what they call invigorating, meaning that when the tree wakes up, it's going to grow a lot from where the cuts kind of in late summer, which is kind of when you want to do this, the cuts in late summer are very kind of growth inhibiting or dwarfing. So this is going to kind of cause your tree to grow less. All right. So, which is the other thing is that because you're kind of dwarfing those trees and causing them to grow less, they then direct that energy into the fruit, which means you're going to get sweeter fruit, which is a great kind of side effect of that. All right. So that's another reason. The third reason is by kind of cutting off some branches, it allows more light into the interior part of the tree, the canopy, which will allow fruit to ripen better and fruit to set better in later years. So the other reason to kind of do it is because you want to encourage the tree to develop fruit buds, which will then become fruit the following year. So this is the perfect time of year to do that, all right, as well, because apparently by making these cuts, it releases ethylene gas into the canopy of the tree, which will then trigger the tree to then produce more fruit buds. And that's what I want. All right, so without further ado, let's talk about how we do it. So you can kind of see here that this young tree, and all my apple trees for that matter, have got their apples bagged. And that is the way that we kind of protect the apples from later insects, as well as from critters that would like to kind of get at them. So that's why they're all wearing these fun little bags. So here's a good example of an older tree, and it has just grown like so many feet this summer. It's ridiculous. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this tree, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the super high branches, all right, and kind of bring it back down to a level that I want. Okay, so that's going to be number one. And then you're also going to cut off any diseased branches or any one that are kind of what they call water sprouts, which are just growing straight up and very obviously kind of what they call vegetative. They're not going to produce any fruit. A good way to kind of show these is on pear trees. Okay, so here you can really see some of those kind of water sprout branches like this one right here, okay? Just go straight up, not branching at all. That will never produce any fruit. So I am going to get rid of those, okay? And so I've got my big loppers here because that's going to be easier for me to reach those branches that have gotten too tall. And you want to try and make nice clean cuts so that way you don't introduce any infection into your trees. Okay, so now I've finished trimming the height of this tree, and you can see, so I'm about 5'9", so it's still maybe taller than I would want, but I would be able to reach the tops of these fruits, anything that's growing, with a short step ladder. Just to give you an idea, this is how much this tree grew in one season, okay? So that's now that we've done that, we've made it shorter. Now what we need to do is try and open up a little bit more light inside this canopy. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at our what they call scaffolding branches, which are the main branches that come off the trunk. So you may have like a single leader scenario where you've got one main trunk that comes up and branches kind of coming out from that. Or you may have a modified central leader where you've got just kind of 5 or 6 main branches that come out from a relatively central trunk. So what you want to do from there is along each scaffolding branch will be these laterals, okay? And the lateral branches are where the fruit are going to form. And we want laterals coming out every kind of 7 to 9 inches or so along those scaffolding branches, okay? And the other ones we're going to take out. So let me show you how we do that. Okay, so if we look at this tree, we can see that it is a modified central leader, okay? Okay, but then we've got these lateral branches, which would be this one, okay? And we want those coming off the trunk every 7 to 9 inches. So if we look here, we've got an extra lateral here, okay? Then we've got another one here. This one's really, really long, all right? So what you actually want to do is you actually want to prune off the leader or the laterals that are the most kind of vegetative or the most vigorous, okay? Because those are the ones that are going to grow really, really long and they're not going to want to produce fruit, okay? So we're going to go through and we're going to cut out all those laterals that are closer than 7 to 9 inches apart. And then we're going to kind of try and pick the ones that we want to keep. All right, so now our tree is a lot more open and there's a lot more light kind of coming down on these apples, and that's going to help them ripen, okay? That's what we want. So now that we've kind of eliminated the extra laterals that we don't want, what we're going to do is we're going to trim the ones that we do want back to the 3 bud kind of length. All right, because 3 buds has been kind of proven to be the right length for a lateral branch to then form a fruiting spur. And once you've got a fruiting spur, that can kind of go on for quite some time in an apple tree. So that's what we're going to be looking for. Okay, let's take this branch, for example, this one right here. Oh, don't mind my henna, went to a wedding. Okay, so we're going to count 3 buds, okay? And that is a leaf bud or whatever you see. So this from the stem, you see, this is where it joins against the branch here, okay? This is 1 bud, this is 2 buds, and this one here is 3 buds, okay? So that's where we're going to cut it, all right? And that here is 1 bud, 2 bud, 3 buds, okay? Back up so you can, it's less blurry. So this is a pretty short branch, right? And that's going to make that branch grow thicker, and that's going to be a stronger tree. Another good reason to do this, okay? And make sure you know the difference between like a bud, which is this, okay, and this, versus just a leaf, just 1 leaf coming out. That's not a bud, okay? A bud is multiple leaves. So that's what you're looking for when you're going to be cutting back those laterals, all right? So this tree's done. So now we're going to go on and show you how you do the same thing in pear trees. All right, here is a pear tree that has also grown a ton straight up. So we are going to start again by cutting out those, by cutting down the height of the tree to kind of get it to where I want, okay? And then we're going to cut those water sprouts and any dead or diseased branches. So we'll start with that. Okay, so now I have trimmed down the height of my tree so it's much more reasonable. I've taken away those water sprouts. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of continue to trim back those laterals. It's a slightly different method because on a pear tree, you don't really have, especially a young one, doesn't really have the same kind of amount of buds. So we're not going to use that 3 bud rule. What we're going to do is do like 2 or 3 inches and cut back to like basically like a nub of that new growth. All right, just like that. And that then will develop into a fruiting spur. Okay, so again, leave that nub. All right, and we come along and cut back all those laterals, okay? Okay, so here is my well-trimmed pear tree. And you can see this one I've made a lot shorter, so that's going to be kind of, again, probably about that 6 foot. And by trimming back all these branches and all those laterals, that's going to really decrease the vigor or vegetative growth of this tree and encourage it to set more of those fruit buds. All right, so hopefully next year we're going to get a nice producing pear. Now, pear trees obviously take longer to produce than apple trees. That's why the expression of plant pears for your heirs comes from, because it takes a little bit. But with this method, your pear trees will produce sooner. Thank you for joining me on another episode of I Demand a Homestead. If you like this video, please feel free to press the subscription button as well as the notification bell so that way you don't miss another one of my videos. And everybody, happy fruit tree pruning, and hope you're enjoying the last little bit of the summer. All right, take care. Bye-bye.